Hi, I'm Beatriz. Welcome back to my studio where I teach realistic looking watercolors with simple step-by-step systems. Today we are painting this weather old door, and the main lesson is how to create feather wood and edge without painting every single crack. One of the important parts are the dark area around the door because it makes the wood feel like more believable. And there is one big idea I want you to keep in mind. In watercolor, the layers create the texture. But first I want to place a simple background color so the wood has a setting. This is my quinacridone gold, and I will also have some burnt sienna here. If you would like to skip the drawing or keep the reference picture beside you while you paint, the tracing template and the reference photo are in the paint along pack on Patreon, link below. This is burnt sienna. I'm going to keep this wall simple, so it's mainly so that the wood or the door will have contrast. What I'm doing is dropping queen gold and burnt sienna while they're wet, so it blends on the paper. And I am wetting around the areas that will be green, but I am not dropping color yet. With the same burnt sienna, I am painting the inside of the frame of the door. After everything has dried, then I come and start doing some dry brush. Dry brush meaning I put the color in my brush, then I take most of the water and then I move it around. That is a mix of burnt sienna by itself and burnt sienna with queen gold. I do it all over the wall, and now I start doing the heart of the crevices in the wall. For this, I have burnt sienna with neutral tint, and I put the crevices with a very thin line. Most of the part, and only in the big bricks I go after with a little bit of water just to blend it out a little bit more. Some of the thin lines will go inside. We drop burnt sienna. We darken both sides of the door frame as well. I came with masking fluid and put a few very tiny dots here and there. The main idea was to reserve what it will be white flowers. Once that was completely dry, then I'm coming with gold green and sap green and other areas. I'm trying to keep my greens light at this stage. This is going to be kept very, very loose, adding movement for the vein dropping around the door so that we can give our door like a frame. And we will come with the darks later. I'm going to pass the greenery here and I'm going to move to the door. Once the door has the first layer and a few darker values, then I will come back to the greenery and be able to make better decisions. First, I'm going to make myself a very dark color using burnt sienna by Winsor & Newton. To the burnt sienna by Winsor & Newton, we add in burnt sienna by Sminky and also a neutral tint by Sminky as well. What I'm trying to do here is give me almost a black but with a lot of brown undertones, and I'm gonna strain it the color here in the top because that's gonna be my anchor value. Once I know how dark the darkest part of my painting is, it becomes much easier to judge the rest of the door. So I'm starting with some burnt sienna, again a gray that I did with burnt sienna and cerulean blue. I'm gonna wait ahead of time only because that way my colors have a better chance to mix in the paper. Again, I am not painting the texture yet. I just put in the base where the texture will go. Wherever I see some gray, I drop it. Then wherever I see some warm, I switch to the burnt sienna and I drop the burnt sienna. You can drop the grays, or if you prefer, you can also get some cerulean by itself. All these colors are mixing here. This part is drying a little bit, so you can come with water and help them blend. Stage, you don't have to be, I'm not going precise with anything. The only thing that I'm looking for is that I have it well distributed. All my grays or blues are not all in one place. And now I'm gonna do the same thing for these plants, put this on the painting, but I am not gonna wet because if I wet ahead of time, I got a chance that that water will go into my dark colors and I will activate them and get them inside here. I don't want that, so and come in and dry paper, but it's the same principle. You can see the still blending and the paper, even if I did not wet ahead of time. Same color that I was using there, but with very thick paint, is where we're gonna start putting the crevices. This is where my method is a little bit different. Instead of waiting until the end and draw hundreds of tiny wood grains, I am placing some of the important darks now. Yes, they are gonna look like they are very dark right now at first, but you have to remember that this is not the finishing wash. Some of them are gonna interact when we put a next wash, and some of them will soften, and some will stay darker, and it will be variation, and that variation is what is gonna help it create a very natural look. The most important part to remember at this stage is that your paint needs to be thick for it to work on our next stage. Right now it looks pretty dark. Don't worry about that. This is the layer that is gonna make the next step work. Uneven marks, thick uneven marks. Sometimes it feels like it's hard for the paint to leave the brush. That's okay. That's what you want. For example, here at the bottom part of the door, where probably it has received through the years a lot of water and the wood has cracked. Well, I put some of this dark, it will separate and give us the impression of cracked, broken down planks. We still have to go with another layer, but you can already start telling how this is wood. Basically, I'm choosing the places where the wood needs age, separation, or looking as if it's been damaged. I know that right now everything looks pretty sharp, but stay with me till the next layer. However, I need to let all these dark crevices dry before I come back with the next wash. And while this dry, I think it's going to be the perfect time to return to our greenery. Now I can mix my darker greens with sap green, green gold, and I'm going to bring some indigo to it. I can judge how dark the greens had to be now much better because I'm no longer comparing it to a white piece of paper. The door has some color, the arch is dark, so I can see how strong the greenery needs to be without letting overpower the wood. I'm dropping this mix around, and in some areas I'm going with water just to make these greens a little bit lighter. It is important that I put the shadows of the greenery and the shadows of the wall with my browns at the same time so that they don't look like if they are copy and paste. As I get closer to the wall, I'm coming with only brown sienna, and I am not defining the greenery too much. I want it to feel loose. And now the greenery has enough depth, and the first dark cracks of the wood has dried. So now I can go back to the door and to the next very important layer. I am mixing some brown sienna here, not too thick. Now I also have a gray. This time I did it with French ultramarine. However, I have the cerulean blue close by in case I feel like some areas need more texture. I put in the first wash. And this is where some of these dark marks will soften a little. The brown sienna. And then in some other ones, I want the gray. So let's come with it and bring it right here. So as you can see, some of them are softened. And this is what is making them wood to look more aged without me having to paint every single line. I am dropping the color. I am not pushing hard, and I am using a soft brush. If in some areas you feel like it's going too much, then you can go lightly with the brush. However, I kind of like it the way it is. All right, so brown sienna. I'm trying to go around the green only because I want to keep it bright. But if it is too much of a hassle, you can go over it and then just, if needed, come with a little bit of yellow afterwards. That will work too. In this other part, I'm gonna switch to the cerulean, see if I can get some of those grays. Let them blend in the paper and let them give me grace. Plus, activate all this texture and make the wood look more real. So I'm dropping the color. If I had to go back and forth, I can go back and forth, but I am not rubbing. The texture is not coming only from tiny details. It is coming from the way that the layers react with each other. And this is what we want. Alternate. Everything is wet, so I can go back with a little bit more color if I want to. The sun is hitting here, so I want it with more brown sienna, but it doesn't have to be so diluted. So I can go with a little bit more. This we will come back and put a shadow in a minute. I can come with some cerulean. Okay. And if I get a tiny little bit like I'm seeing here, if you can see it, of like a blossom, that is adding texture, so I don't mind it at all. Yes, this besides being beautiful, it saves time because I am letting the watercolor do part of the work instead of me having to do it all with my brush. Let's just drop a little more brown siennas here. I think that at this point I'm gonna let all of this dry. While this dries, I can go ahead and start darkening this part of the arch. I had to move it this way because this is pretty wet and I need to find a place to rest my hand. So I go dark in this darker part, obviously. And then this is brown sienna, fairly thick. And in this part, I'm gonna come back with the same dark color that I was having before and do the transitions by putting some dark over there and then a little bit less here. And I can do a little bit of negative painting and try to do like if there are some leaves over there, and then now I blend. And as I get out of here, it's gonna be just this brown sienna. I need to put the darker color. Already started to look a lot better. Let's just bring a little bit of this color here too. And I come with the darker color, like the same one as there, and try to put this shadow, which is gonna allow for this to turn in a little bit. I would like this a little bit lighter, only in the edge, so let's just lift some of that. These edges and then define them a little bit more so they return. The wall comes over there and then it comes flat.
It has dried beautifully, and now it's time to come with my darker colors, the same ones that I was using for here, that kind of like a chocolate and dark brown. And we're gonna start separating some of the planks. I'm not gonna separate every single one of them, but variation is important, so we need to have a few lines that are sharp against some of these other ones that are more blurry, more texture-like. So there's some sort of, I don't know what this is, it's some sort of thing. This is my reference photo and I don't know what I kept it. It really doesn't do nothing for the painting, but since it's here now, I'm gonna have to keep it. Some of these things are shadows, and when I put the shadows sharper, then it lifts the rest of the wood and it makes more sense. Planks are not usually even, so it's okay they get a little bit crooked here, but since I have, and I will do shadows later, but since I have the colors here, I'm wetted. I'm coming with the same colors that I got there. And then a little bit lighter as they go away. This part here, we continue to have it dark. So now I'm gonna start separating some of these planks. Not every plank has to have the same strength, being the same size, or all of them do not need to be separated either. Just by putting a few sharp objects here and there, it should be enough to kind of bring the painting on focus. This almost feels like if it is out of focus at this point. That's good. That's how we create texture. I'm gonna put a few of these lines that are like the frame of the door. If I don't want to outline everything, so it's good that it's broken. Otherwise, it may start looking cartoonish, and we want to avoid that. Because this is a small detail, I'm using my Scura Perla number 2 and number 1 brushes. This is all in shadow water. So we're gonna start adding these ones now because it's gonna make more sense. And then afterwards we will come with the last details, sharpen a few areas and whatnot. This is pretty much in the dark, so part of this will be in the shadow with any type of gray that you want. But I'm using Payne's Gray for this one. Now, if you want to make your own gray, go for it. If you want to use neutral tint, you can do that too. Let me continue to build. Shadows helps the plank feel like if they have form, as well as gives the texture makes the texture of the wood more interesting. Some of this greenery will be creating shadows, so that's what I'm gonna be putting right now. And can you see how by adding these shadows here and there, the door starts to feel less like a flat pattern, and then more like a natural door. I have defined the lines over there, but now I need to come with a glaze. A glaze means I'm gonna go with the same Payne's Gray, and then I just lightly gonna drop Payne's Gray. Again, lightly means I'm not putting any pressure, I'm glazing. So my top part dries, I can go ahead and move around and put a couple thin lines, and some of them will be planks. Some of the other ones are gonna be shadows, so that I can come over here, define a little bit more of this wood, a little bit better. I'm not covering all my hard work, I just put in a couple defined areas here and there of the door to turn a little bit more, so I need to come and make it darker. Also, that will push the greenery forward and make the door feel like it is more behind. So a lot of this is accomplished by by changing our values, darks and lighter values. These little details are very satisfying because just by putting a little bit of dark, then all of a sudden it brings a lot of things. It's almost like if you bring it to focus. So put a few, like I said, don't make it cartoonish, don't go all straight. Skip a few of them, and then here, let's just redefine this broken plank by getting it a little bit inside. This part is more in the light, so I'm gonna come for the shadows with more brown and less of the Payne's Gray. I do not want to spend a whole lot of time here because this is not important, but they are like a handle. I already put some of that. It seems like it has a round thing to pull from it, so let's just put the impression of it. And what is interesting to me about this one is creating a shadow, and that shadow is interesting to me, and I do want to put that. However, if I don't do this, then our eyes will be like, oh, where is that coming from? Well, it's coming from these little circles. I cover all this rest and shadow at top with water, top, a little less defined, and then go from more to less. So I'm gonna remove the masking fluid that I'll save here, like little flowers, and then we're gonna put a very few little details. All right, so see, by removing my little, it was very tiny masking fluid that I have, and make it look like if they were white flowers. I'm not gonna touch anything else. I'm gonna leave those as they are. These little details add up. I'm coming with my very thin brush. This is my number 1. And now, yes, I'm gonna put a couple very thin lines here and there, wiggly lines. Put a couple there. I feel like this one has pretty little, so let's just add a few of them as well. Not too many. I can redefine a little bit of this bottom, but with very thin lines, like planks. Step out a little bit. It's important to put it at a distance and see what else the painting needs. And I noticed that what it needs right now is light area. So best thing to do that is I come with water. Go a little bit back and forth. Not a whole lot of pressure. Just tissue or paper towel. Something here. Have another one. Let the water get inside the paper. Well, I can put a couple of. We do it on one side, we need to do it on the other one as well. Depending on the paper that you are using, you will have a better luck doing this or not. I'm using good cotton paper. What does that mean? It means that the fibers do open up. I don't want to overdo it, but if I have some here, I feel like I should have a few here as well. Let's just do it in the opposite direction. Like as you can see, this is also adding to the texture of our door. Wood, especially aged wood, doesn't age evenly. And just to finish this painting, I feel like the door finished here, but it doesn't look as if it is. So let me put a little bit of, lift a little bit of color here too, go with a little bit. So these are one of those small things that makes the painting feel more put together without having to overwork. I'm gonna call this painting.
And this is my method for creating wood texture without having to paint every single line on the wood. I hope that you learned something with me today. If you like the tracings or the reference picture to paint along, they are in my Patreon. I'm gonna link it below. As always, I thank you for being here, and I will see you in my next video.